Hey everybody, Asian Fasha Gamer here. I just want to take a second, put out a small disclaimer to let you all know that I am not a mental health professional. I just want to do my best to be able to help others with my own experience, and at the very least, hope to be able to point people in the right direction if they do need help. And of course, I also want to remind people that we do go into very heavy and potentially triggering subjects. So that is something to be considered. But I do appreciate your support for you being here. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Fahzaly Advice. Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fahzaly Advice. I want to take a second to say thank you to my supporters. It means the absolute world to me that you have watched, enjoyed, and I do hope that you have found value in my words, because this podcast means the absolute world to me. So thank you for your support. And of course, thank you to our submitters, for without you, there would be no podcast. Which brings us into our first submission, which is brought to us by Missing My Best Friend. And they write, "Hey Fasha, I am dealing with an interesting situation, and I have no idea what to do here. My best friend has been dating his significant other for almost 2 years now, and it seems pretty serious. Now, she is great, and the two of them seem to be having a blast. But well, one night, when we were hanging out, I noticed she goaded him into drinking until he was blackout drunk, while she herself matched him with every drink. And while he was either too drunk to care or passed out, she started flirting with us, being really handsy, saying how handsome we are, and asking us awkward questions like if we think she's hot or if we would date her if we had the chance. We all told her that she was drunk, she needed to sit down. And that's where the night got kind of weird. She started talking trash to my girl and a few other significant others there, talking about how she knows she can snatch every man in the room away from them, that she's not going to take being insulted just because they think that they are better than her. Thankfully, her brother, whom is also our friend, was there and took control of the situation, telling her as kindly as he could to shut her mouth, and that he was taking her and my best friend home. Before he left, he apologized and said she was just drunk. She didn't mean any of it. But since that night, she refuses to come back to our weekly hangouts now. And because of that, I have seen my friend less and less. We are all kind of scared that he's gonna disappear altogether because of this. But I personally don't know how to remedy this. So Faja, I turn to you in this confusing moment. What should we do so we don't lose a friend to this awkward situation? Sincerely, Missing My Best Friend." Well, Missing my best friend. First off, I appreciate that you trust me with this quandary. Now, when it comes to this particular situation, there are a lot of factors involved that need to be considered. The first thing that you need to do is go to everybody involved in this situation and ask them how do they feel. Is there any bad blood? Is there any animosity? Because if there is, that's going to determine exactly how you approach this particular situation. Now, sorry, I'm just adjusting. Now, if there isn't any bad blood and this is just water under the bridge, then it becomes a little bit simpler. But before you get everybody's answer, I want you to consider this first. The biggest thing to consider is that she is a person. And as a person, she's not perfect. And I'm talking about your friend's significant other. And there are instances where we make mistakes. And those should be exceptions, not the rule. Shouldn't be moments to judge people, because we all make mistakes. Now, if this isn't a regular occurrence, then that really should be considered. But also consider that there was alcohol involved. Being inebriated loosens one in his inhibition. Being inebriated loosens one's inhibitions, which makes it easier for one to slip, lose themselves, say things that they don't mean. These are all factors that need to be considered in this particular situation. Don't use past situations to judge this situation, as every moment is unique in its own context and nuance, and that needs to be considered with everything that occurs. So, consider all of this before you go to your group of friends of all the people that were involved in this and ask them. Make sure that it's brought to the table that they should also consider this as well, that she, significant other, is just a person and they may have just made a mistake. Then they may have just been having a really, really bad day. And in that regard, that really, really bad day for her more than likely is the reason why she refuses to come back. She is embarrassed. Her ego is bruised. Although these are assumptions that are easy to come to given the situation at hand. And more than likely because of that, she has put herself in a mindset where she either feels unwelcome or feels like it feels like there's too much embarrassment for her to come back due to everything that happened, and in the instance of everybody remembering and bringing it up kind of thing. A lot of that can add on to the anxiety of everything and cause someone to run away from the situation rather than face it. And sadly, that puts the ball in your court to extend the olive branch, to create the bridge so that there can be some communication. But once again, this starts with getting the information from all parties involved. See if there is any bad blood, any animosity, or if it's just water under the bridge. And if that is the case, then bring up the message directly. But remember to do it tactfully and with compassion, because how you approach this will determine how it will unfold. For what is said and how it's said is the responsibility of the speaker. Even though words are given power by those who listen, we who speak, those who are speaking, or the one who is trying to reach out in this instance, is the pilot, and your words are the plane. And you, as the pilot, are responsible for how that plane lands. You are responsible for how your words land. And considering that and the responsibility within that, you have to consider all of the factors if you want to truly remedy this situation. Because if you approach this and there is animosity and you aren't genuine, and the only thing that you're attempting to do is to acquiesce to the situation so that you can push it under the rug and hopefully everything is just forgotten, that's a band-aid that is going to allow for a wound to fester, and there's going to be something worse ahead if you don't address it directly, genuinely, with an open mind, when with compassion. If you don't want to lose your friend to this awkward situation, oops, sorry, I hit my mic. But if you don't want to lose your friend to this awkward situation, then you have to be very careful how you approach this. My recommendation ultimately is to directly reach out to the significant other so that they, one, realize that you, at the very least you, and that you and the friend group are willing to reach out and open a line of communication. That in itself alleviates a form of pressure and allows for them to feel some form of welcome so that they can come back. Now, if there needs to be a conversation, if there is any bad blood, if there is any animosity because of what happened that night, then that is also something that needs to be brought up when you reach out, making an attempt to remedy this situation. And in that regard, consider all of the factors and Once again, be genuine, letting them know of, hey, this is how some people feel, or this was brought up as an issue due to that night. But I would like to have a conversation so that we can air this out and we can hang out again. Coming into it with a genuine earnestness, if that's the right word. Well, coming into this with a genuine sincerity, sorry, that's probably a better way to state that, will have more positive results than trying to walk on eggshells, to be trying to find the right words, to be trying to find a way to manipulate the situation so everybody feels comfortable. Sometimes putting everything on the table and trying to be genuine about what you're trying to do. Like, you want to remedy the situation. You want people to start hanging out again. Making sure that that is on the forefront of your message will help greatly, I believe, in this situation. But it starts with opening the lines of communication. It starts with speaking and reaching out, and hopefully they're receptive. Now, you can take all of these steps and you can do your best to be tactful and be compassionate and reach out. But they might not be receptive. You have to be ready for that, because I can't tell you how they'll react, because one, I'm not them. Every person reacts differently to situations. So you don't know. I can't tell you for definite whether or not this is going to give you the resolution that you are looking for. But hopefully this will give you, or at least guide you to the steps that will potentially lead to something positive, lead to this just being something that y'all can squash, laugh about later on, and continue to have fun. Because it's obvious that your best friend cares about this significant other. And more than likely right now, they're probably in a position inadvertently. No one more than likely has put out an ultimatum or anything like that, but because of the awkwardness of the situation and the unwillingness of the significant other to come back, because they more than likely are in a mindset that they feel unwelcome, your best friend feels like they're caught in the middle, where they're going to eventually have to make a choice of her or y'all. And that's not really a fair place to be, obviously. And that's not at fault of anybody here, from what I can tell in this submission. And I'm not saying that in any way. I'm not trying to put blame on anybody here. But part of that also should be considered when you approach this. And if she isn't necessarily receptive to it, maybe reach out to your best friend and relay the message in the same way as best as you can. Or maybe the brother might be a better solution and might be a better avenue, as he seems to be quite direct and not afraid to speak direct about things. And sometimes having somebody who is on the familial side, who's willing to say things like that, is a little bit more receptive than somebody who is on the outside. If you understand what I'm kind of going for here, or what I'm saying. So, consider all of this as you move forward. I know there was a lot said, but when it comes down to it, I know we want things to be simple when it comes to life and our interactions, but sadly and amazingly as well, when it comes to people, it's never going to be simple, because we are living, breathing, thinking beings. And within that, we are all unique. And there is no guidebook to figuring out how someone will react to a situation. And there is a complexity that will always need to be considered. So there's never going to be simple when it comes to people and interacting with people. So at best, all you can do is try your best. So hopefully I gave you something, and my words were of value to your situation, and there is a positive resolution the situation that you are facing. I truly do hope for the best, and I thank you for your submission. Now, before we move on to our second submission, we're going to have a small commercial break. All right?
Well, hey everybody. Did you know that Agent Fahzaly Gamer has a Patreon?
That's right, and Random Skull is here to help tell you about it.
And that's right, we're doing this announcement together.
And when you subscribe to Patreon, you get to see content early, and of course, make requests for content on YouTube, and even on Twitch and TikTok. It's all up to you.
And of course, if you want to support Agent Fahzaly Gamer, check out these links. And of course, there are also links in the link tree.
And remember, when you subscribe to Patreon, you can also leave a message saying that Random Skull is better than Mr. Announcer.
Now, was that even really necessary? Well, hey there everybody. Mr. Announcer and
Random Skull?
And we're here to let you know that Agent Fahzaly Gamer also streams live on Twitch 5 days a week, and sometimes on YouTube.
And if you want to continue to support Agent Fahzaly Gamer, check out the links for his Twitch and his YouTube, all in the link tree.
That's right. Check out those links.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our first segment. And of course, let's get on into our second submission, shall we? And this one is brought to us by Human Manager. And they write, "What's up, Fahzaly? I hope you are well, and I thank you for taking the time to at least read this submission. My friend, I am doing more than that. I am adding it to today's podcast, and I appreciate your submission, Human Manager." Now, let's continue. I am a manager of a large team. What we work on and where we work, I am not comfortable talking about. But I am dealing with a situation with one of my teammates, and I would like some advice, as I have found you have a very different outlook on employer and employee relations than the majority of other managers I have asked advice from, that usually end up being a manipulation tactic to get them to do what I want without addressing people as people, and it's sickening. One of my teammates seems to be struggling a lot with the task that they have been given. They started off working at a fast pace, making huge strides in progress, until we got to the halfway mark. His quality and quantity of productivity seemed to have dropped significantly. I have asked them if everything is okay and if they need something or some help, and their response is always the same: "No, I got it." But I can see it in his face and mannerisms. He seems to be really struggling, but with what, I can't put my finger on. We have a month left on this project that we currently working on, and their work is integral to staying on schedule. He knows this, and I don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on the poor bloke, but I don't know how to help him, because it really seems like he's either burnt out or he is feeling the pressure of the deadline. I would like to find a way to help him and be a more effective manager, rather than what most managers are these days. Nothing more than bloody corporate slags treating others like they are less than. What would you do in this situation, Fahzaly? Sincerely, Human Manager. Well, Human Manager, first off, I just want to say thank you for trusting me with your quandary. Now, when it comes to this situation, I'm going to approach this in a way that I would have approached this as a manager, something that I have seen that works well for people that I have worked with and for myself when it comes to long-form projects, where it's sometimes difficult to see the fruits of your labor, to see the culmination of everything that you've been working towards. Now, more often than not, more than likely, this is a product of a failure of effective communication. Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad manager. I'm just saying that this isn't something that people readily think about when it comes down to it, especially when they're facing a deadline and there's a lot to do and there's a project that you are attempting to focus on. But when you're in a position as a leader, when you're in a leadership role, one of the most important things to always consider are the people that are responsible for your productivity, the people that are responsible for doing the legwork, the associates that you are responsible for leading. And one of the most important roles as a leader is to be able to create a system in which your associates are able to succeed, give them the tools to succeed. And one of the biggest tools to success when it comes to any task is effective and genuine feedback. When I say effective and genuine feedback, I don't mean just tell somebody they're doing a good job and pat them on the shoulder. I mean, show them what their work is doing and the progress that they are actually making, so they can see that their work is indeed cumulative to the productivity and the progress that is being made. That communication, telling someone that feedback is one of the greatest motivators in the workplace. And it also creates an environment that allows for your associates, allows for those that are under your leadership to feel like they can communicate with you what they're struggling with, what they're dealing with, so that both of you can work on finding a solution. Because when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what the job is. It doesn't matter what the business does. The productivity of the business is wholly and solely in the hands of those that are doing the grunt work, those that are on the bottom rung of the ladder, essentially. And those are the people that are holding the weight. And in that sense, they deserve that respect of that acknowledgement. Because without them, there would be no productivity. It doesn't matter how effective a manager is if there's no one to manage. And a manager can't be a leader if they're the one doing the work, can they? But at the same time, they should never be above doing the work to support those that they are leading. There's a lot to consider when it comes to being in a leadership role that many people seem to get blind to when they get to there due to the egotism. And sadly, they think egotism is something that they need to be in that position, but it's nothing more than a wall. An effective leader shouldn't be creating walls and obstacles. They should be building bridges so that there is a path to success. That is what is important when it comes to being a leader. And it's supporting those that you are leading that gets you there, that creates a positive productivity in an environment that allows for everyone to win. But it starts with communication. It starts with the most integral and important part of human interaction. Solutions can only be found through communication, not by believing or imposing the problem upon others, or creating a air or creating a perception where those that you are leading are the problem. They are not the problem. They should never be viewed as the problem. And they should always be viewed as the solution. They are. Or they are the only reason the company gets anywhere. Management didn't make it happen. No, it's the people that are working that make it happen. And it's easy to forget that, I guess. In truth, not in the instances that I've been in a manager, because I've always remembered what it's like to be in the role below me. Well, it's not even below me. To be in the role that I am being led, or when I was not in the leadership role, if that makes sense. Because they're not below me. They are next to me. They are working with me. They are part of the process that is necessary to keep this machine running when it comes to the workplace. So never forget that the foundation of that workplace are the people. They are what's important. They are what needs to be considered. And they are the reason and the focus, or should be the focus, when it comes to what's going to be going on, how it's going to be going. Not as numbers, but as people. And that's where communication is important. That's where being able to be an effective communicator as a leader allows you the tools to give them the tools to succeed. So when it comes to long form projects like this, as I completely digressed in a sense, but it is important to consider all of the factors that I did talk about. But when it comes to long form projects like this, to make sure that you give your team the tools to succeed, make sure that you give them the feedback they need to see the cumulative effects of what they are doing. No matter what it is that you are working on, there is a way that you can give them genuine feedback so that they are able to see that. So it's not like sitting there watching paint dry for hours on end when they can't see whether or not it's going to succeed. Because when you don't give somebody proper feedback on a long project like this, what you're doing is you're putting them in a position where they will do all this work and they won't know until the very end whether or not they have failed or succeeded. And if they failed, everything they did would mean nothing. And they would have to do it all over again in a different way and try to figure it out all over again, when that could have easily have been alleviated with the proper feedback in the proper instances during each integral step, and turning it into section by sections so that in each section y'all can pinpoint whenever there is an instance where something might go wrong and you're taking the wrong steps, and nobody needs to waste time going so far back. And it makes it so much easier. And I'm going to tell you right now, you break it up like that, you will see so much more success in your associates, in the productivity that they are doing, and in the positivity of the environment that you are working in. But it starts with having that communication, those moments of feedback. Those are so important because that motivates an associate to know that what they're doing means something, is adding up to something, and that their steps are correct, and that they don't have to, that any adjustments they have to make, they made them at the time that was proper instead of after everything was already done. It's easy to lose sight of that, like I said, when you have so much to concentrate on. But when you just take the steps to create stages and give feedback in each of those stages, I can assure you, your associates will be thankful for it. Your productivity will be better for it. And though this instance is not something that you can use as a catch-all, because there's going to be associates that don't appreciate consistent feedback, but to them it might feel like micromanaging, which is a line that you definitely have to toe. You have to make sure that your feedback isn't micromanaging. Whatever feedback you're giving shouldn't be telling them how to do their job. You should trust them to be able to know how to do their job. Your feedback should entail whether or not there needs to be a correction, or if there needs to be, if there needs to be a correction, or if what they're doing is proper and that we're continuing to progress. That Just that simple feedback, simple communication will do wonders for you as an effective manager. So I hope that you take what I said to heart. And I truly do appreciate you trusting me with this. And I thank all of you for listening, for watching. And if you enjoyed today's episode of Fahzaly Advice, please do remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, and all of that. And of course, we do also have a Patreon, which does help support me as a content creator, allowing me to continue on doing these projects and so much more. But I do thank all of you, and it's time for this love train to get rolling on through. Choo choo. I love every single freaking one of you. Well, everybody, that's the end of Fahzaly Advice. I hope you did enjoy this episode and you found some value in what I said. And of course, if you are interested in participating, if you need some advice or some perspective, feel free to email the address at the end of this part. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Need some perspective? Need some advice? Want your submission read on podcast? Well, email Fahza at fahzalyadvice@gmail.com. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous unless requested upon.